everyone. Welcome to our second session of Compassion Camp. I hope you enjoyed your first session. In this session, we're going to talk about how compassion helps us to be brave. To be brave is letting God help us see and reach out to our neighbor. When we reach out to our neighbor, we experience the miracle of God's power to restore and make our community whole. In a few minutes, Alida is going to share our Bible story with you for this session. It's about some friends who had a friend who wasn't able to walk, but this friend wanted to meet Jesus, and so his friends carried him so that he could go and visit Jesus. Then there are several activities that you can complete after the story. And there's supplies from your supply kit that you will need in order to do this. First of all, we have our image for this session. It says, "To the neighbor." You can color it, cut it out, and then you can add it to the banner which we began in the last session. You will see I've started that, and so it will look something like this. Then we have the poster. For this session, I'd like for you to look for pictures that show moments of compassion, that show people being brave. See what you can find. I found at least 4. Once you find them, you can color them, you can draw a circle around them, you can put an X on them, however you want to identify. Then we have an arts and crafts project. For this session, we're going to make greeting cards. And we can do this in a couple of different ways. We can make postcards or traditional greeting cards. To make a postcard, you can decorate, draw a picture, write words, then you cut it in half, and you can either write an address and put a stamp on the back and put it in the mailbox and mail it. You could hand deliver it. You could deliver it to one of your neighbors in their mailbox. So however you want to get it to someone. For the greeting card, very similar. It's designed, you can just color it or decorate it so that it opens like this, or it can open like this. Comes with an envelope to put it in. And you can deliver it the same way as the postcard. I was thinking about who I might like to make my greeting cards for, and here's some of the things I thought of. First of all, we have all of our first responders. Our doctors, our nurses, our firemen, our policemen, the people that worked really hard these past few months to make sure we were safe. Then we have our teachers. You know how hard they worked to make sure that your schoolwork could continue even though you had to do it from home. Then there's the members of our family who helped you with things like your schoolwork and made sure you were safe. We also have our workers, like the people in the grocery store and the drug stores who worked throughout this time to make sure that we had the supplies and food and things that we needed. We also have people like our delivery people who would bring us food from the local restaurants and pizza and things like that. They brought it all the way to our homes so we didn't have to go out and get it ourselves. Those are just a few of the people I thought of. I'll be really interested to hear who you think of to share your cards with. And finally, we have our daily examine. Remember, this isn't a test. This is something that you can use to talk about and reflect on this session and the things that you learned and discovered. And now it's time for our Bible story. Enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
I have a story to tell you today about these people. Can you see what they're doing? There's 4 people carrying somebody on a stretcher. Don't you wonder what's going on? Don't you wonder where they're going? Don't you wonder why somebody's on that stretcher? Well, this is a story about 4 friends, those 4 guys, and their friend who needed to see Jesus. Now you're going to find out how this story goes. I'll take you right back to the beginning. Listen up. Once there was a man who had had a sickness that had made him paralyzed. That meant he couldn't walk by himself. He needed friends to help him, but he had 4 really good friends to help. One day, they heard that there was a wonderful man named Jesus who had come to town, and that Jesus was able to heal people. Those 4 friends thought, we should take our friend to Jesus, and maybe he would make him walk again. So they traveled with their friend on a stretcher a long way to the town where Jesus was. When they got to that place, they found it was very crowded. They couldn't get through the crowd. So they did something really clever. They went up on the roof and they cut a hole in the roof. And they lowered their friend on his stretcher right down in front of Jesus. When Jesus saw the man and saw that he was not able to walk, Jesus was full of compassion. And he said, "Get up and walk. I'm healing you now." The man stood up, for the first time in so long. He picked up that stretcher that he'd been carried on all those years and left with such joy, and he and his friends walked back home rejoicing and thanking God for God's compassion and Jesus' love. There sure was a lot of compassion in that story, wasn't there? Jesus had compassion for that man who needed to be healed. But also think about those 4 friends. They must have had so much love and compassion for their friend. They were willing to carry him a long way just to see Jesus. And then when they got there, they went up on the roof and cut a hole in the roof. That's how dedicated they were to making sure their friend got help. A whole lot of compassion in that story. It's one of my favorites.